Voilà, chose promise, chose due. On reparle donc du Cameroun dans
Let's
ce
talk now
deuxième
about
sujet.
Cameroon.
Depuis au moins 2011, le Cameroun, donc, pays
Since
d'Afrique centrale, est
2011, Cameroon
confronté
has been
aux assauts
facing
répétés de
security
la secte
challenges
islamiste
caused by Boko Haram
Boko Haram,
attacks in the
notamment dans
northern
sa
part
partie
of the
septentrionale.
country.
La semaine passée encore, un
Last week,
militant
a
de
Boko
Boko
Haram
Haram
militant
a
was
été tué et
killed
4 autres
and 4 others
arrêtés à Bia, dans
arrested
l'extrême nord
in
du
the far
pays,
north region
après des
near the
affrontements entre
border
l'armée
after clashes
camerounaise
between the
et le
Cameroonian
groupe
army and the
islamiste.
Islamic
Ce
sect.
conflit a déjà fait
The
près de
conflict has so
1500
far
morts,
cost about
155 000
1,500 deaths,
déplacés
displacing
et
close to
73 000 réfugiés.
155,000 and then
Pour faire face à la
73,000 refugees.
menace dite
In
asymétrique, le
efforts to
gouvernement
combat this sect, the
camerounais
Cameroon government
procède
has
à
been trying to
une
push back
riposte militaire,
the attackers,
mais n'arrive pas à
although the
endiguer
operational capacity of the
les
sect has not
offensives
really
de
been
ce groupe
weakened.
d'origine nigériane.
Well, but a report from the International Crisis Group released yesterday has indicated that these attacks have recently scaled back in Cameroon thanks to an intervention by Chadian armed forces, both in Cameroon alongside forces from Niger and Nigeria. But the ICG doesn't stop there. It has called on Cameroon's government to shift from a security-based approach to focus on socio-economic development and countering religious radicalism, and reinforce state presence and public services in order to consolidate military gains against Boko Haram and bring back lasting peace in the far north of the country. Well, to shed more light on the just released report, we are glad to be joined by Hans de Marie Hungop, I hope I've pronounced the name well, who works for the International Crisis Group in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much for joining us today on the morning call. We just talked about some of the recommendations the ICG gave to improve the security response to the Boko Haram threat. But what other ways have you suggested for Cameroon to better tackle the sect?
Yes. The first thing we are trying to do is to improve the military response. That means improve the military cooperation, intelligence gathering and sharing with the regional partners of Cameroon, Chad, Niger, and Nigeria. The second step of this military response that has to be improved is to strengthen the ties with the vigilante group and local population toward the purpose of curbing suicide bombings and the low-level intensity attacks that Boko Haram have been gathered and conducted the last 6 months in the far north region. Another point in the military response that we think should be improved is also significant intensified operation of both Cameroon Army and the others in the strongholds of Boko Haram, whether it is in the Shekau faction in Sambisa forest or around the Lake Chad basin for the Abu Musab al-Banawi faction.
And Mr. Hans, how long can this type of war last? And is there a possibility for Cameroon to make peace with Boko Haram?
Discussing about the dialogue with Boko Haram is a tricky issue and sensitive issue as within Cameroonian authority, no one wants to listen about that. I think what is possible is to implement a kind of policy to de-radicalize those who are already arrested, are in prison in Marwa, and see how these people can be useful in the counter-narrative against the Boko Haram recruitment, discourse, and speech. The other challenging part will be to defeat the radical ideologies that Boko Haram was able to spread in the area. That's why the military response alone is insufficient.
A last question, Mr. Hans, and probably this should have been the first question, but the question many are asking, and several people are asking all over, is why is Boko Haram attacking Cameroon?
Yes, we have seriously investigated about this question, and the response is initially Boko Haram was not planning to convert Cameroon as an area of attacks. They just wanted to maintain Cameroon as an area of, let us say, sleeping operation, like catches of weapons, circulation of weapons from Sudan to Chad, then far of Cameroon and Nigeria, circulation of their operators and logisticians. It is when Cameroon started to dismantle the catches of weapons of Boko Haram and arresting some of the operators and logisticians that Boko Haram starting releasing letters threatening Cameroonian authorities to not touch the people. If not, they will propagate the war in Cameroon.